Gervonta Davis is not the face of boxing. That's right, Gervonta Davis is not the face of boxing. I will reveal later in this video who is the face that runs the place. Mike Tyson said Gervonta Davis is truly right. He is the face of boxing, but that's because Ryan Garcia is the draw. And that makes Garcia the face of boxing because of the amount of people that he fills in arena. Since that fight, Ryan Garcia's fans turn into Tank's fans, and Davis is going to have the biggest drawing power. I believe Ryan brought those people out, and normally when the draw gets beaten like Ryan when he gets beaten, the people that are his fans are now Tank's fans. I take issue with a recent comment suggesting that Gervonta Davis has become the new face of boxing after his victory with Ryan Garcia's help. While a big win is always significant in boxing, it does not automatically make someone the face of the sport. To support my stance, I point to past examples in boxing history, such as Floyd Mayweather's win over Oscar De La Hoya, which did not result in De La Hoya's fans switching to Mayweather. Instead, many of them disliked Mayweather even more for beating their favorite boxer. The same trend continued with Mayweather's victories over other popular boxers such as Canelo, Cotto, and Pacquiao. Winning a single fight does not automatically shift the power dynamics in the sport. Additionally, I do not believe that Davis can simply replace Garcia as the face of boxing just by defeating him. In my experience, boxing fans tend to remain loyal to their favorite boxers, even when they suffer a defeat. I find it unrealistic to expect all of Garcia's supporters to become Davis's supporters. Look, we all love Mike, don't we? He's a great guy and an icon for the sport of boxing. But I cannot agree with all of his boxing opinions. This is the same Mike Tyson that said Manny Pacquiao would defeat Floyd Mayweather. While Davis may earn that title in the future, his victory over Ryan Garcia is not sufficient to crown him the new face of the sport. You know who is the face of boxing? Canelo Alvarez is the reigning face of boxing, and Davis would have to earn that distinction through a series of victories and a sustained presence in the sport. Becoming the face of boxing is a long-term endeavor that requires sustained effort and success. Simply participating in a single commercially successful fight cannot guarantee this title overnight. Gervonta Davis, for example, despite having been featured in 5 pay-per-view events, has only recently competed in what can be considered a significant fight, which was against Ryan Garcia. In contrast, there have been much bigger fights happening concurrently, such as Wilder vs. Fury 2 and 3, as well as those featuring Canelo Alvarez, like his bouts against Caleb Plant, Dmitry Bivol, and Gennady Golovkin for the 3rd time. To become the face of boxing, a boxer must demonstrate their skills, tenacity, and commitment to the sport over an extended period. While Davis has shown potential, he has yet to establish himself as a major figure in boxing. He will need to continue to fight and succeed against top-level opponents to earn that distinction, such as Devin Haney, such as Lomachenko, such as Shakur Stevenson. Despite Gervonta Davis being on pay-per-view 5 times, it does not make them big fights. In fact, they were overshadowed by other more prominent bouts happening at the same time. While Davis's recent fight with Ryan Garcia sold over 1 million pay-per-view buys, this does not automatically make him the face of boxing. In contrast, Canelo Alvarez has repeatedly proven himself to be among the highest-paid athletes in the world. He has even made the Forbes list for highest-paid athletes, unlike Gervonta Davis. The face of boxing does not come with an official title, but it is often synonymous with being the highest-earning boxer. That's the kind of power that Canelo has, to be included in the same list as Messi, Neymar, Ronaldo, and LeBron James. Gervonta Davis isn't anywhere near that level yet. For God's sake, Canelo was even featured in this year's Super Bowl commercial. That's what happens when you're the face of boxing. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Usyk are also in the conversation for being one of the faces of boxing due to the enormous sums of money they command for their fights. These boxers have already made a fortune from their previous bouts, which places them above Gervonta Davis in terms of earning potential and overall prominence in the sport. Just take a look at the amount of money the Saudis are willing to shell out for a heavyweight showdown at the end of this year. The estimated guaranteed purses for this monster match are a whopping $400 million, which is an incredible amount of money. To put things in perspective, let's compare these raw numbers to the pay-per-view earnings of the Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight. That bout sold approximately 1.2 million pay-per-views at a price point of $85, resulting in total revenue of around $102 million. You can bet that Davis didn't pocket all of that money. You going to convince me that Davis took home $102 million? When you consider that any one of the 4 heavyweight boxers set to participate in the heavyweight tournament-style showdown in Saudi Arabia could make close to $100 million by themselves, it's clear that the money involved in this match is on a different level. This further emphasizes the point that being the face of boxing is closely tied to being one of the highest earning boxers in the sport. Davis doesn't make anywhere near the kind of money that Canelo Alvarez makes. In fact, Davis doesn't even make as much as some of the heavyweights set to participate in a monster showdown in Saudi Arabia, who are each poised to earn close to $100 million. Some people may be offended by this, but the facts speak for themselves. Even if someone used to live down the street from Davis or sat next to him in school, it doesn't change the fact that he is not the face of boxing. The real face of boxing recently returned to action, with Canelo Alvarez facing off against his mandatory challenger John Ryder. While Canelo's fight may not sell as many pay-per-views as Davis's fight with Garcia, it is still expected to do well based solely on Canelo's name alone. Davis, on the other hand, needed Garcia's help to sell as many pay-per-views as he did. If Davis wants to prove his drawing power, he will need to revisit his fight with Isaac Cruz. Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, has been promoting a rematch, but only time will tell if it will be as successful as his fight with Garcia. Canelo's name alone can sell a fight, whereas Davis needs a high-profile dance partner like Ryan Garcia to draw big numbers. Canelo's most recent fight against John Ryder may not have broken any pay-per-view records, but it still do well solely on the strength of Canelo's name. On the other hand, Davis's potential rematch with Isaac Cruz is not expected to sell as many pay-per-view buys as Canelo's fight did. In fact, I bet Canelo vs. Ryder might have done around 500,000 pay-per-view buys, whereas Davis vs. Cruz 2 would sell somewhere around 250,000 pay-per-view buys. This is still not on par with what Canelo can do, even when he does not have a high-profile dance partner. Ultimately, the numbers speak for themselves. Davis may be a talented fighter, but he is not yet the face of boxing. That title belongs to Canelo Alvarez, who has shown time and time again that his name alone can sell a fight. While Davis may continue to rise in popularity, he still has a long way to go before he can reach Canelo's level of success. Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, has mentioned potential matchups against fighters such as Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and Vasyl Lomachenko. However, he also stated that these fighters need to increase their popularity and pay-per-view numbers before they can be considered viable opponents for Davis. Meanwhile, Ford is actively seeking a rematch with Isaac Cruz for Davis, which I find surprising because I don't see the boxing community clamoring for this rematch. Davis wants to play it safe with his upcoming fights, as he hasn't yet proven himself against some of the sport's top contenders. Stevenson, Haney, and Lomachenko would pose a much greater challenge to Davis than Cruz, who he has already beaten before. While a rematch with Cruz may be familiar territory for Davis and his team, it's not what the fans are asking for. As for pay-per-view buys, I don't anticipate that a Davis vs. Cruz rematch would come close to the numbers that Canelo vs. Ryder did. In fact, I think it would fall well below those numbers. Davis may have had success with Ryan Garcia as a high-profile dance partner, but I don't believe he can replicate those numbers with Cruz or Romero. From my perspective, the boxing community is not showing any interest in watching Gervonta Davis fight Isaac Cruz again. They never expressed a desire for the first fight to happen, and certainly aren't clamoring for a rematch. Even if Davis were to go ahead with a rematch with Cruz, or a rematch with Rolly Romero, the numbers it generates would be nowhere near the level of the fight between Davis and Ryan Garcia. This is because Ryan brought a certain value to the table that these fighters simply do not possess. Unfortunately, this is the harsh reality of the situation. Subscribe and like for more upcoming videos. Comment with things you agree and disagree with. As always, this is just my opinion. Until next time.